much better. Much better. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode, and huge shout out to every lake access that has a biffy. I appreciate you. Today is a different morning. Today is a very different morning. Talk to me, B Rizzy Rock.
Yeah, today is cold. First like cold front of the year. It's 58 degrees. First time to have a sweatshirt on, but it's way better than that 90 degrees. Tomorrow's turning Tuesday, and we got to figure something out. Yeah,
we're practicing today. Unfortunately, B-Rock won't be able to fish a derb. You got to work.
I got to work tomorrow. Bart's back, so who's ready for that? Bart's back. Bart's back.
Comment down below if you guys are excited to see Bart, if you're just upset that Bart's coming back, or if you're ecstatic that Bart's coming back.
Yeah, just let us know.
If you guys are not caught up on the Tourney Tuesday vids, I can basically summarize it like this. B Rizzy Rock has been on freaking fire. If you are not subscribed to his channel already, make sure you go down below. Check my link in the description. I have his channel link there. His channel is called B Rock Outdoors. Awesome hunting, awesome fishing. If you're not subscribed to him, you are just a bad person. But no, we're just doing a bunch of practicing today for Tourney Tuesday. It's a gorgeous day. Like B-Rock said, it's a much different day. First cold front of the year. We finally got some rain. We need a little bit more rain though. Crops are low, lakes are low, and yeah, it's just been dry, really hot and dry. But we're definitely enjoying a little bit of the flannel weather this morning. Got a little guide hoodie on, and we're just poking around. All right, predictions going into fishing today, just in general with the weather, and then how do you think this lake's gonna kind of lay out?
Normally this lake's a pretty shallow fishing lake. Not really too many like super deep bites. I mean, there'll be some offshore bites, but like 4 or 5 feet. This cold front could push fish out, or they could move fish up. It's kind of that time of year where they can be pretty much anywhere they want to be. We're just gonna have to go check a lot of stuff, check the weed growth in a lot of different areas, and kind of just see how it is today and how it might be tomorrow. We got a lot of past out here and a lot of different stuff that we could fish, but you can't fish memories. You gotta fish the day.
All right, so come along. Should be a fun day poking around. I don't know how much fishing I'm gonna show you just because I don't want to give anything away for Tourney Tuesday, but we've got some interesting things to talk about, and then B-Rock and I are gonna talk to you and show you how to set up a rig that I think is underrated, not just for bass fishing, but for all fishing in general. Bass, walleye, panfish, everything. So come along, let's go on the lake, let's go bassing.
Come along, let's go bassing.
Alrighty, B-Rock and I, we just kind of pulled off to a little bit quieter section of the lake. We checked a few different spots, and it's kind of weird. The water temperature actually has dropped like 10 degrees in the past 2 days, which is nuts. It's been so hot, and it was like 80 degrees, and that's very hot for around kind of the upper Midwest in mid-June. And now today it dropped all the way down to 70 degrees. So cold front fishing is not easy. A lot of times right after a cold front, it can get really, really tough, especially if it's been consistently hot the past couple days. But kind of reading back to last Monday's more technical video, people ask the question, how do you rig your drop shot, and then how do you rig like a perfect wacky rig? Where in the worm do you rig it? And this kind of made me think, the cold front's happening today. Brok and I might slow down a lot. We might scan a lot of stuff and drop shot really slow in a variety of depth ranges, maybe out deep, maybe up shallow, maybe right next to docks, and we might also throw wacky rigs, really shallow, really deep, go really, really slow, because I think these fish might be a little bit less active because of the cold front. So first off, I'm gonna tie on a wacky rig and show you exactly where I hook it, and this is to kind of build off of what we talked about last Monday. Really quick, I'll show you. First off, the hook of the wacky rig. I use a VMC Wacky Hook. It's 1/0. This is basically the size I use 100% of the time. I like this size. I feel like it fits a 4 and 5 inch Senko well. It's a small, low profile hook. It's got a decent gap there. So when I'm rigging up a weightless wacky rig, how I correctly put it in the middle of the worm, if I'm not gonna use a little VMC ring, is I bend the worm right in half like that, and now I can tell the middle's right there. And that's where I take my little wacky rig hook and I put it right through the middle. Sorry if you guys can't see that very well. But see how that's right in the middle? And then it falls equally, both those sides will just kind of fall just like that. And that's how I know it's right in the middle. So besides rigging up the weightless wacky, there was a lot of comments on last Monday's video, how do you rig up your drop shot and how do you tie your drop shot? And kind of going back to cold front fishing, the drop shot is an extremely lethal bait, not just for bass, but for panfish, for walleyes, for a variety of species. And I'll tell you why. What a drop shot basically is it's a weight at the end of your line, a hook anywhere from 6 inches to 2 feet up. You cast it out there and you drag it on the bottom. And what that does is that just puts your bait in that bottom foot strike zone. And it doesn't matter what the size hook you're using or what fish you're going for. So many fish relate to that bottom foot. Whether you're fishing deep structure or even shallow underneath docks. A lot of those fish will relate just in that bottom foot, and keeping your bait in that strike zone for your whole cast, that, in my opinion, is extremely lethal way to fish anything. So I'll show you how I rig it up. First off, the hooks I use. This is a little VMC Finesse Nico hook. I strictly use this hook for drop shotting. And it doesn't matter if I'm putting a little wacky rig on this or if I'm throwing a big worm or a tiny worm. I love the Finesse Nico hook because of the keepers right here. I don't know how well you can see that, but it basically has 2 little barbs out here and it really holds your bait on. So what I do is I'll take, like, say I want to tie a drop shot about a foot off the bottom. I'll take about this much line and I tie a polymer knot. I don't normally tie polymer knots with fluorocarbon, but for my drop shot I do. And if you want to learn how to tie a polymer knot, just YouTube that one. But what I do is I just put these 2 ends through, wrap it around the hook like I would just tie a normal polymer knot. Boom, I have it tied. So now I have a tag end that's like a foot or so long. And you can see the hook sitting at kind of an odd position, and sometimes if you tie it, it sits all right. And sometimes if you tie it, it's even upside down. There we go. Like this one, it's completely upside down. So now if a fish bites it, boom, he might get hooked in the bottom lip or he might not get hooked at all. So what I do there is I take this tag end and I put it right through the eyelet one more time. We're just literally putting it right through the eyelet. And we're pulling that through. Boom. Now the hook is sitting perfect. As you're dragging that along, your bait is literally sitting at a 90-degree angle or however it's dragging on the bottom. An all-around good drop shot weight that I like to use, whether it's lightly breezy or there is some wind or if it's even flat calm, is a 3/16 ounce VMC drop shot weight. I'll pull it out of the package right here. Now what I like the most about these is they're tungsten. And I know I kind of messed up the package there, but the big difference between throwing a tungsten drop shot weight opposed to just a lead one is really feel. It gets down there really fast and I feel like I can feel the bottom so much better. And that's what you're doing when you're drop shotting too. When you're fishing out deep, you're kind of feeling the bottom. Am I on hard bottom? Am I in soft mud? Oh, I'm in a patch of weeds. Pop it out of the weeds quick. Boom, I get bit. Oh, there's a rock. There's a rock. Oh, that's a bite. Dunk. I think it's so huge to throw a tungsten drop shot weight versus just a normal lead one. The cool thing with these is, I don't know how well you can see it, but it kind of has like a small long V design. So it almost is like a modified eyelet, if you will. And the kind of design behind this is I can just put my line right through here and I can crimp it. I don't even need to tie it on. Boom, it's done. And then if I'm fishing somewhere else and I'm like, you know what? I feel like these fish are feeding really close to the bottom. I want it really, really close to the bottom. In 1 second, I can uncrimp that line, pull it much tighter, and then boom, my drop shot is much shorter. And if you feel like you're gonna be fishing shallow like this the rest of the day, you can always cut your tag end lined off, or you can really tie it up if you do feel like that's just the same drop shot length you're gonna use the rest of the day. But the cool part about a drop shot is you can fluctuate kind of where your bait stays and the strike zone it stays in like a second. And that's what makes it so lethal. There's a lot of baits out there, trick worms, finesse worms, drop shot worms, and that's where this keeper comes in handy here. As you can literally take this bait, kind of Texas rig it, I just poke it right through the nose, I weave it on down, and I spin it, and I get that keeper to lock that nose of that bait in there. From there, I'll just kind of poke it up into the soft plastic. I don't even like my hook showing a lot of the times. This way I can fish around wood, rocks, weeds, doesn't get caught on anything. And when I do feel a bite and I set it, that hook just freaking stabs right out, right into the top of their mouth. So now the coolest part with drop shotting, like we were talking about, and why I think it's so underrated for other species, is like we said, it keeps your bait in that bottom foot strike zone. So now if I'm going for walleyes, I can literally take a leech, feed it onto here. I can take a creek chub, I can take a fathead, I can feed it onto any hook of my choice, and boom, work the whole bottom foot of the water column. Good buddies Brok and Augie fish panfish all year long. And a lot of those fish, after they bed, they move out to those weed lines. This is just one of Brok's setups right here. This hook's even a little bit big for this, but he'll just take his crappie baits and he'll nose hook them. And he has a little bit longer drop shot here, and he just drags that right on the bottom. If you had an even smaller hook, I feel like it'd pair even better, but boom, all of a sudden you're crappie fishing. I truly feel like it doesn't matter what you're going for, the drop shot, if you're going slow, is probably one of the most effective, deadly ways to fish. So beyond the actual drop shot rig, just kind of a baseline of line that I'm always running for bass, and I use it for basically everything else, is I'm using 10-pound Suffix Advanced Fluorocarbon, and I'm running that to 10-pound Suffix 832 braid. So that 10-pound braid to the 10-pound fluorocarbon leader, I run about a 6 to 10 foot leader, and that's totally fine. You can tie a longer leader if you don't want to retie often. You can tie a shorter leader if you want a little bit more braid. But either way, that's the kind of line to line that I'm running in my drop shot rig. As far as the reel and the rod, I like between 2,500 to a 4,000 size spinning reel. It holds a lot of line, especially when you're using just 10-pound braid. And the rod, the Sobi 723 by Dobyns. I'll link this down below. This is the only spinning rod in the Sobi series, and I feel like it's an all-around crusher. It's a little bit heavier, so you can fish this through the weeds, but it is light enough that you can throw a drop shot on it, you can jig worm on it, you can walleye fish. You're a multi-species guy. So this is an absolute crusher of a rod. I'll link it down below. But don't forget, the next time you're out at your cabin, out at the lake, if a cold front rolls through and you really feel like you got to slow down for the bass, do not be afraid to tie in a drop shot. It doesn't matter what you're targeting. A drop shot is a lethal way to catch bass. And yeah, I think B-Rock and I are just gonna kind of roll around the rest of the day. Look for more spots for Tourney Tuesday. We're gonna end the video here, but I appreciate it, thank you. Make sure you go subscribe to B-Rock, and if you're interested at all in any of the drop shot or any of the gear I talked about today, I'll link it down below. Thank you so much on watching how I rig up the drop shot. I guess there's nothing left to be said than stay tuned, and as always, let the adventure begin. See you.
Move ahead, oh my pretty babe, something ain't right, got to find a way to move ahead.